Hello, everybody and anybody that may be out there. This is an impromptu coloring session with me, Ryan Wynn. This is a drawing of a sorcerer done on Geronimo Draws a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. Yeah, last week. Been meaning to color this bad boy up for about a week. Gonna create a color layer here. Then add a couple more above it. It'll be color 1 or color 2 and 3. And I label them so that they are easy to identify, because I got a bunch of layers on this because I was doing a bunch of different versions. What was that? Color 3. Okay, color layer 2, 3. We'll call that color 1. Doot, 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 doot. I'm going to tweet out that I am live. 1 second. Please excuse me. And I'm using the Procreate program on my iPad. I see Christopher John there. Hello, Christopher John. What is up, buddy? Up late, just like me. I'll be sharing my screen in just a second after I'm done sharing on Twitter that I'm going live. This is going to be a super chill, laid back coloring stream. Don't be fooled, it says late night inks. But we are doing late night colors, late colors. And 1 second, just tweeting it out. Live right now, exclamation mark. And there we go. Do. All right, I'm going to be, hey, right on, brother. Hey, everybody. I think it's just you and me right now. But thanks for stopping by. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. I'm not at my computer. I'm using mobile, so I will do the best I can to keep up with stuff. It's kind of to the side here. We got Paul Dozier. Whoa. Greetings, all. Welcome, Paul. I'm going to pick a palette for this. I really like these classic ones. These tend to be pretty much the ones that they use for like Marvel Comics in the 60s and 80s. It was funny, I spent a bunch of time creating ones like this, and then I realized that they actually had them. So I did this whole 64 color thing where I collected and matched all the old Marvel colors and DC colors and was like, cool, I've got all the classics here. And then I realized that Procreate had all almost the exact same colors called the classics 1, 2, and 3. But that at least lets me know I was on the right track. I organized my colors the way they had them organized originally. So whatever. I'm gonna be using gouache paintbrush. I really like the way the gouache plays. It feels like real gouache, even though I haven't used gouache in about 10 years, but it's fun to say gouache. I have done multiple paintings, digital paintings in gouache in the last year, but let's see. I'll just go in and lay some color here. Let's finish with some of the hellos. We got Frog G. Hail all. Hail Frog G. What's up, brother? Or sister. What's up, Frog? Make sure we got the right brush. How big we going? Let's see. Ah, and already right there. You're like, what's that? What's that white there? I must have scribbled like white out over on one of my layers that has the lightning bolts. Let's see. Where'd you go? It's one of these guys. There it is. I see it. All right, we're gonna switch that up to a multiply layer. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do that one more time now that I know where it is. And then we'll get to painting. So this is gonna be a bit of an experiment for me. I'm not gonna do this in the uh, regular way of flatting out the colors. Although I'm gonna do it a similar style. I'm gonna lay in some general colors, but I'm not gonna select anything, and I'm not going to be afraid of kind of going outside the lines. And I will eventually clean it up uh, in the final stages. But I want to get a little loose, a little sloppy, because a lot of my art is always it's very controlled. The lines tend to be I try to keep them as crisp and clean in form as possible. And sometimes a brother's just got to loosen up. So that's what this is all about tonight. Excuse me. So any colors I'm choosing now, let's see, let me get to the right palette. Any colors I'm choosing now are just helping me identify. Looks like I got it. I think I'm back. Oh no, I seem to be having some connection trouble there. That's a bummer. I see some chats going on too. I'll get to that in a sec. I was saying I was picturing this guy having a bluer tone with his skin, but now that I'm adding a warm a warm color to it, I think I'm gonna make him warm color and then just have the background color be cool and have the lightning coming out of his hand be a cool color. And by cool, I don't mean like, oh, it's such a cool color. I just mean cool as in the blues. Yeah, so gouache is sort of it's an opaque form of watercolor, and they've set up the digital gouache to kind of react like real gouache. You can work the colors into each other. And it's got pretty interesting results. The first time I used it, I was recreating a painting. Um, there's an old painting of the Long Beach Harbor that a historical society was putting together an art book about, and they didn't have the rights to use this old painting, and they basically needed a recreation of it. So I whipped out the old iPad. First of all, I told them I could do it, which I wasn't sure if I could, and then I got the gig, and then and then I pulled it off. So that was cool. Yeah, I think I am gonna go with something kind of like this lightning blue. Still having an issue with something being white here. There we go. All right, we got a couple comments. We got some other people showing up. Paul Dozier, I've always envied those who could use watercolors well. I love the look of a painting done in that medium, but I have zero talent for doing it myself. You know what? I bet if you and you may have done this, but I bet if you sat down and followed some tutorials, you'd find somebody you like to listen to talk about watercolors. Um, but because one of the things I like about real watercolors is it's very forgiving. You can always add a bunch of water. You can lay it in the colors in like you have with this, and then you can go in with a bunch of water, really wet up the pigment again, and then you can take a paper towel or something and or even another brush and lift that water and it'll pull up the pigment. So you can almost like erase and rework with watercolor. Um, but I know what you mean, though. I don't have a naturalness with it myself, and I love it, and it intimidates me. So it's one of those things I'm like, I stay away from it. But sometimes, as creatives, we should dive into what makes us uncomfortable. Step out of our comfort zone. We got Shonen Ronin, Shonen Ronin Onin. We got Shogun Ronin artist, my buddy James. Yo yo yo, what's up, James? Uh, I'm a big fan of James' art. He does a bunch of amazing illustrations of all types of characters, but he's got a great knack for drawing my characters, and I love seeing his renditions. I'm going to do something cool with them soon. And thank you, James. I see you drawing aces. What's up? What's up, brother? Hail aces. Hope you're having a decent night. Razmaz, what's up, brother? We got Demon Ink Studios in the house. And Lucifer Storm. Yeah, we got to we need to talk to Lucifer Storm. He has got a great project come out. Oh, it's a lady. Oh my gosh. Put it up in the chat because I always forget names late at night. And then I get embarrassed. But you've got a really cool looking project on IGG. And see, we got chat helping chat here. Shogun Ronin, Shogun Ronin artist says at Paul Dozier, Joey Lee Cabral is pretty great with watercolor on Instagram. I have to check that out too. All right, so I was painting in some blue again. I'm just kind of not worrying about going outside the lines. A lot of this is experimental for me, so that's you guys are getting to see me play around. This isn't me coming in here with tons of confidence, like I know exactly what I'm doing. Excuse me, but we'll learn together. So originally I was going to do all of this sort of like a warm color, and then yeah, and then I decided I wanted some cool added to it, and I was going to do the background cool and have him be all warm. But now I think this should be cool. It's going to be a little more challenging for me. That's what I'm kind of thinking here. And for a background color, I might want to go kind of neutrally for now. Something. Oh, that didn't turn up in the background. I am way off on my layers here. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, maybe something like that. It's hard to see. It's kind of a greenish. Yeah, it's hard to see on the monitor. Anyways, I think this is like that. So I'm gonna do this as kind of a warm up. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this piece, but I want to warm up a little before I color a Hammerella piece. So if you guys are wanting to see the Hammerella page, I just need about 10 minutes of playing with color and being free and loose, and then I'm gonna go in and do some flats, or maybe just pick one panel and work on one panel. Or maybe I have a pinup. I think I have a pinup of Hammerella that I need to color. So we're gonna keep our dude in these oranges. And I'm already screwing up painting on the second layer. There we go. Now, and like I said, with the gouache, it mixes in with the color that's already there. It's almost kind of like a wet into wet feel. There's a slight texture. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But it is weird. I learned how to paint traditionally, so I'm used to the pressure of the brush being something where this is a hard thing tapping against a hard thing. So that aspect took me a little time to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, once you get used to any of the tools you're using, um, you'll forget that you had issues with it. Get these teeth in here. All right, I'm gonna do another test. Make sure, see if I want those blue. You know what? Now I'm starting to think I like the eyes. I thought the eyes should be blue, but now I think they need to be this bright yellow with maybe a bit of blue around the edges. And just that thin little kind of blue line scrubbed in there. You can see how it creates a more glowy effect. You have these contrasting colors. I don't want to overpower it. So we'll see if that's the move. Again, this is all experimental. I'm playing along or figuring it out as I go. And I do think I want to have his hand almost like his hand is glowing here. So it'll be darker down here, or let's see. Kind of got a burst of light coming from his whole arm onto his excuse me, onto his face. Okay, well I think about that. Let's paint in some brighter blue here. There we go. Yeah, it's just fun to scrub the paint in sometimes. All right, so I know you guys are probably chit-chatting in the chat and maybe have some questions, but I got a question too. I'm just curious about everyone's time zones. You don't have to tell me where you live. You don't even have to answer my question. I'm just curious about everybody's time zone. Lady Satan. I kept wanting to say Lady Demon. I'm like, it's not that. It's not that. Oh my god. No, that looks rad, dude. We'll talk it up on my channel. We'll get you a little more promotion. I mean, not that I have much sway or anything, but man, every little bit helps when you're pushing a book. So we'll see what we can do. So then here comes the problem where if I want his hand glowing with the energy that's going to be bursting out of it, is it going to be cool or do I want it? I want to make this. Whoa. Ooh, I kind of like that effect. Whoa, okay. See, now we allow the experiment to take over. Okay, I kind of like this. It got really orange on me. I'm liking the orange and green now. The orange and green is cool. So what if on the background, let's play with that. Go over to where do we do it? I can't see around my camera here. Okay, hue, saturation, do the whole layer. And we are going to adjust the hue on that background layer. Yep, I think we're going to go somewhere in here and kind of play with the green, orange, and violet or purple. Some artists hate to use the word purple. I don't mind. But I think that's what we're going to go with. Let's see. Paul says, I honestly haven't even tried to use watercolor since college in the 90s, but I'll definitely take your suggestion and check them out. Thanks. Yeah, there's a lot of things I liked and didn't try or didn't have proper instruction or anything like that. And man, nowadays there's so much good stuff on YouTube. So I've been kind of trying to learn the things I wanted to learn, like animation, stop motion, things I may have taken a couple classes on years ago, but didn't actually get to put them into practice. And now for animation with Procreate, it's so easy to do where, to do it properly, you really did need to have an animation table with the spinning light desk and stuff. And those were really expensive. But yeah, Paul, try to try to do it if you think that's something you want to do. Yes, Lucifer Storm. His book is Lady Satan, an angel in a killer's dress. Yeah, it's awesome. I think I first saw him. Where did we meet? Was it Jimmy Page? Jimmy Page's channel? Yeah, Jimmy Page. Was it Page One with Jimmy Reyes? Oh yeah, yeah. I know where you are, brother. Hey, 7:47 a.m. Well, good morning. This is early colors for you then, brother. Yes, Randy, East Coast. Hey, we got a central guy in the house. Paul's at Fort Worth. Let's see. Hey, no problem. Lucifer Storm says, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate the support. Need to get you on my channel at some point. Yes, we need to both do that. I'll be reaching out to you this week for sure in the DMs, buddy. We just did our second creator spotlight, and I'm booking for more. So you're gonna be on my list. We'll if not tonight, I'll DM you in the morning for sure. It's 6:50 p.m. for Colin. Everybody that doesn't know, Colin is one of our good homies from Australia. Randy said photography was my thing in high school. Yeah, I had a lot of friends that loved photography. Photography class was a great escape, and it was fun, and you got to create something without having to draw or anything like that. So a lot of my friends that had a good eye that didn't like drawing, um, they really found their way in photography. My grandpa was a semi-professional photographer, I guess. Was a side job. He was a fireman full time, so he had all these creative jobs he did on the side. And he got published a bunch of times. Fantastic photographer. I'll be sharing some of his photos in some videos here soon because I learned a lot about composition from him. He was really good at just looking at a scene and seeing how it was framed in thirds and things like that. Like just right in the moment, he would capture things. It was great. I'm not that good with a camera. I try, but I have to draw my pictures and manipulate, and I'm not very good at capturing the moment in reality. Hey, Blasby, what is up, brother? Good to see you. I know where you are, Central Time Zone, buddy. He says, "Ha! I did the same thing. You know what I learned on YouTube? Finance. I was in the army, and then I got a journalism degree. I went to YouTube University for business school." Yeah, that's right. I've learned so much about special effects and animation, stuff I want to get more into. And it's all stuff I would have had to go to school for. And I didn't get to go to school. That's something I really wanted. I wanted to go to art school. And I won a bunch of scholarships when I was in high school, but they were all to big schools. And they were just like these partial scholarships. They either like paid for tuition for a semester or it was like a room and board kind of thing. And then I had to pay tuition and we didn't have any money. My parents didn't have any money until I had moved out for many years, and then my brother and sister got to have a little bit more, which is good for them. But yeah, that's one of the thing I really wanted to do. So that's why I pushed really hard when I was in my early 20s, just to learn anything I could from anybody because I didn't get to go to school, and at the time the internet wasn't what it is now. You couldn't just like reach out to people. Um, so take advantage of the time we live in, kids. Let's see. Colin says, being bitter and annoying was my jam in high school. Hey, mine too. I get that. And Blastbeat says, I'm up way, way, way late tonight. Hell yeah, brother. That's how it goes sometimes. And he also says, Uncle Sam paid for my degree. That's the way to do it. Yeah, a lot of my friends, they made great use of that. And I had a few friends that had some trouble with their with the schooling and what they were and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of my friends got great benefits and educations out of their time, especially the dudes I knew in the Coast Guard. Uh, those guys got the hookup like crazy. Okay, yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking this purples, oranges, and greens. Hey, Christian Nomad, what's up, brother? Christian Nomad, drop the name of your book. You have a detective noir comic that you are working on that looks so cool. We got to see it on Peter's open mic, and again, it's really late here. I've got some stuff on my mind because there's a giant fire up in the canyons near us, where my in-laws and my brother and his wife live. So I'm just waiting to hear from them if I'm going to be having guests tonight. So we'll see how that goes. So my brain's not in full effect, um, so I don't want to be misstating people's books. So Christian Nomad, promote your book in the chat. Ty, what is up, brother? Ty is a good friend of the channel and myself. Colin Swinburne, I'm paying off my student debt with my tax money. Hey, There you go, brother. And Randy Scribner Jr., another friend of the channel, says, I learned how to tape concerts from the internet. I would say that would be the first class the internet taught me about how to tape and 16-bit wave and stuff like that. Yeah, that's awesome stuff, dude. Um, and Randy's a great dude, so do what Randy does. Learn from the internet. Ty Ranger says Christian likes big butts and he cannot lie. All right, you guys are talking to each other there. Um, all right, the Christian Nomad says, "Thanks, Ryan. It's Mickey Spade and the Five Dames." See, it's such a cool title. I didn't want to get it wrong. It sounds like something out of like the Dashiell Hammett era. I am so stoked on this book. It is a gritty noir pulp straight from 1947. Heck yeah! And Ty Ranger, we're here for you, man. Hey, I'm here for you, man. Colin Swinburne, I sweet talk the sound guy and plug in my Mind Disc recorder into the soundboard. And Christian Nomad, excuse me, sign up to the mailing list and get a free ash can. Yeah, sorry, from doing this from mobile, I can't do anything at the second right now with links, but we will definitely be promoting that. I've been meaning to reach out to you about that to see if it was when it was going in demand, if it was still on the mailing list. Because there's so many great books that come through on open mic, and I always think I'm going to remember everything in the dates, but Liberty Bell and I keep pretty busy in the uh, as mods doing all the links, and then I'm usually hiding in the backstage with some stupid costume on, and I don't remember like all the things like John Hervey had been on so many times with his earlier projects, and I just kept forgetting about them. All right. This is feeling good for my flats on here. I'm going to change up the brush to a flat brush. Leaving Blast Beat asks, Ryan, you ever heard of a band called Prayers? The Cholo Goths from San Diego. I have not. What's a favorite San Diego band? I'm gonna look them up. I'm going to physically write that down really quick. Prayers. Um, there's a band out of San Diego called the Creepy Creeps. That's one of my favorite bands. I was trying to book a show with them before all this nonsense went down this year. But they kind of look like the apes from Planet of the Apes, but they dress like a biker gang from the 50s, and they play like kind of driving force rock and roll. But the Creepy Creeps, check them out, and I'll check out Prayers. Lucifer Storm asks the Christian Nomad, "Love the title of your book. Where can I find it?" I do know that he's collecting his mailing list now, and yeah, so we'll when we talk to in DMs, Lucifer Storm, I will make sure that if I know and whatever I know about his book, you'll have that info too. Shogun Ronin Artist says Brian Haberlin via YouTube taught me about layers and properties to help me get passable colors. Yeah, Brian Haberlin, for those of you that don't know, is one of the people like Alex Sinclair that pioneered digital colors, and their input back to Adobe and other companies was vital to the way they developed their tools so the comic artists could use them, because they were not designed for that, and were not considered part of the process until many years into Adobe, even though people were trying that and playing around with it. But yeah, Haberlin was the colorist on Spawn for almost 200 issues, something like that. He also penciled and inked and wrote a bunch of issues. I think he edited some as well. But yeah, Brian Haberlin, great guy. He lives here in near me in Southern California. He also invented an augmented reality sort of app with these really cool sci-fi books that he did. So yeah, check out Brian Haberlin. Tie Ranger does have a wrench, so he can link stuff if there's sites. But no pressure, Ty. I know sometimes you're doing this for mobile or whatever, and it's kind of difficult. So no pressure, buddy. And also, I can't from here. I can't wrench people off my mobile. It's weird too. So Blastbeat says, I was reading about them. I guess they're still together, but they had a bad tour in 2017 opening for Perfect Circle where they shit the bed on every date. The Austin show was tragic. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, rock and roll bands don't have tend to have the most professional of reputations. Okay. Blastby says Rival Sons is good stuff. I think I've heard that name. I'm gonna look them up too. Demon Ink Studios says Royal Blood is getting more radio time too. And Randy, going back to what he was saying earlier about what he learned about recording concerts on YouTube, he says, I pretty much can go into any venue and tape a band, and if they want, they can have that as their EP or CD to get into better venues. Yeah, it's pretty great. The modern recording devices, and if you're in a good place for the sound, when the Taint played in Japan a couple years ago, one of the places we played, my wife Giddy, she went in the back. She found like a good pocket where the soundboard guy was, and just filmed. She was just taking video with her iPhone, and we were going to drop in the soundboard audio later. And when we got the video back, the video actually sounded kinda a little better than the soundboard because it had the audience sound in it as well and the air of the room, but it captured the bass, the drums, the guitar, and the vocals all separately and all great, so we just went with that. So, yeah, if you can find the good spot and you know what you're doing, you can do great recordings with live, live music. Thank you so much, Ryan, says the Christian Nomad. No worries about anything. I'm launching in January. I spoke with Peter Smeddy and he helped me figure out a good date to launch. That's great. That's what Peter's there for. He is an amazing resource for the community and just an amazing guy. So that's good. I'm glad you reached out to him. I'm glad you went on the show. I recommend that for everyone. Hop on that open mic, that 5 minutes on open mic. uh, you may not feel like there's a big difference. There may only be, 75, 100 people watching. And you're like, nobody's going to go and pick my book. But hundreds of people rewatch that. And you never know. Like, there's been shows where I have two people watching. I go and do a live stream. There's two or three people watching, and I'll get a sale from one of those two or three people. Um, and there's been times where I've gone on streams where there's hundreds of people watching and I didn't get any. So it's just you got to go out and do that. So yeah, get on that open mic, talk to people with experience. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm constantly telling people no about stuff about, hey, I can't review things, I can't read your script, this or that. But I always make sure to tell people like, I'm glad you reached out. You need to have the nerve to reach out to people, and you don't. I always say this. Yeah, I know I'm repeating myself, but you don't get what you don't ask for. Blastbeat Industries chimes in with Royal Blood has a big following in Texas. They've played all the big festivals like ACL. They opened for Queens of the Stone Age. They're going to really blow up after the lockdown ends. Very cool. Blastbeat has great taste in music. I just recently bought a original Misfits cassette from him. That was awesome. I've got that sitting over here. I need to do a post about that. Yeah, Blastbeat sells all sorts of awesome memorabilia, collectibles, art, comics, sports cards, music, just all kinds of great stuff. And he's got great history and great quality pieces. I dig it. And I dig Brian. I dig Blastbeat. Yeah, Queens of the Stone Age. They came onto my radar a long time ago. It had to be 2000, 2001. We went to a Bad Religion show at the Glass House in Pomona in Southern California, and this is a venue where there are always fights. somebody either always gets shot or stabbed or curb stomped or something. It's always a wild time. So we're like, okay, dude, Bad Religion at the Glass House is gonna be killer. And so we go and we're walking around. We got a little blasted beforehand and snuck a few drinks and stuff like that. So we're having a good time. And then this band that we'd never heard of and didn't know anything about, Queens of the Stone Age, starts playing, and everyone's just like, all right, let's get this band over with so we can get to Bad Religion. And there was maybe 10 people watching in the pit. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of people at the show, but everyone was out back smoking or hadn't come in front yet or was upstairs in the balcony area just chilling, waiting for Bad Religion because you want to save your energy for that pit. So Queens of Stone Age comes on, and right now I can't remember the songs that they opened up with, but it was the most intense 15 minutes of an opening. Like the first 15 minutes was the most intense rock and roll I'd ever seen. And by the time they were 20 minutes into the set, all 400 people that were in or around the venue were just going insane in the pit. It was so violent, but it was one of those ones where you're like, somebody's elbow cracked your nose. They helped you up, put their arm around you, and you guys danced around the pit some more as everyone slammed into each other. It was one of the most insane outside of, and you may not believe this, but the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, up until this 2000, I would say some of their pits were some of the craziest pits I've ever seen from metal or hardcore shows, whatever. Especially in the mid to late 90s, the Boston's pits were bloody, bloody messes. Um, and I had never seen anything like that until we saw Queens open up for Bad Religion. And then the thing that sucked for Bad Religion was they came out and did a killer set, and we were all so tired. Like the pit was just kind of like slow motion going around. Like uh, no one had any energy after the Queens of the Stone Age show. But that was good times. Oh, he's probably already gone already. Paul, thank you for hanging out. He says it's late. I'm old. I'll catch you guys next time. Good luck with campaigns and comics and all for everyone. I wish you all the success you can handle. Good night. Hey, from myself and everyone else out there, thank you, Paul. Have a good night. Get some sleep, brother, and have a great tomorrow. And I'm gonna start coloring this in a second, but you guys got so much great stuff to say. Um, these are so all of you guys know what Demon Ink Studios is talking about. He says it's going to be a doozy since I'm mostly a rock and metal guy, but Eric Harland and Voyager are pretty good too. And Ty Ranger says, I hope Peter's still doing the open mic in like a year because I'm slow as hell and I'm nowhere close to launching anything. LOL. So what's funny to me about that is Ty is not slow as hell. He's actually one of the fastest artists I know. He's just being very thoughtful with his pitch and his project that he wants to work on. Ty is very inspirational to me. He is constantly producing work and getting things done, and he's a fantastic storyteller and layout artist too. Uh, this isn't my picture I drew. Passion for drawing. Hail, welcome, buddy. I think I have that handy. I want to show off while he is here. I think I saved it on this tablet. We're going to look at Passion for Drawings. Yes, I've got it right here. He did a Hammerella piece that blew me away. So this is Hammerella ripping out the brain of one of the Mechakira. The Mechakira, the giant mechs in the story. And look at the robot brain. Look at this with the circuits breaking it up into the noodly brain bits. That's so cool. And the spinal cord, the spine is cords and cables. And then look at that. Look at that heroic pose and the composition. Here, I'll pull back a little for the composition. Look at this. How dare you not color my stuff? LOL. I'm getting there. I also have I don't have it on the tablet yet. I, finally scanned it, and I gotta send it to Ty, but Ty has a piece that, I'm gonna be painting, digitally painting, and I'll do some of it live, and I'll also, be coloring that piece live too. Um, let's see. What did I miss? I'm going to make Ty blush. Yes, that is my goal, to make everyone blush. Lucifer Storm says, "Oh man, one of the most violent pits I witnessed was a lineup of Johnny Truant, 12 Tribes, All That Remains, and Killswitch Engage. It was insane." Oh yeah, I bet. Um, that sounds like one of those pits where there's like multiple layers all going different directions and knocking each other over, and then you get the like masses like moving each other from side to side. Those are always fun. The most violent show I've ever seen was two tours that got combined together for a show in Houston in 1996: The Misfits, Anthrax, Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death, and At the Gates. I almost feel like those pits would have increased in violence as you went. Like the Misfits, favorite band of mine, but probably the least violent, more of a dance fun pit. Then Anthrax gets a little heavier. Cannibal Corpse, you start incorporating elbows. Napalm Death, you get multiple directions, and At the Gates would be complete chaos. Christian Nomad said, Ryan, that sounds like a POD show I went to back in 2000. POD opening for Stained, and the 30 minutes POD did as an opening act was so intense in the mosh pit that half the crowd left before Stained." You know what? I think a bunch of people bailed too, on Bad Religion, if I remember right. Yeah, those shows are funny, and those are, it's always cool to see a band step up like that. I mean, I didn't wanna see Bad Religion get shown up, and they still came out and did a killer set, but it was that thing that nobody expected, nobody showed up with the energy for 2 great shows, and that's what happened that night. It was 2 great shows. It sounds like that's what happened that night for you too. Ty Ranger, also, I tweeted you those inks. Okay. I'll get to that. Um Passion for Drawing says the first Lollapalooza was crazy. Yeah, it wasn't. Oh man, I don't even want to guess on the lineup right now. I was gonna be like, aren't that like Beastie Boys and Stone Temple Pilots? And I didn't go, but I'm trying to remember the first bands. All right, I'm gonna color for a few minutes. We're gonna find our Hammerella palette. Basically, I'll probably just flat out the figure for now. Where'd the Hammerella palette go, guys? Did you see it? I think I missed it. There it is. There it is. Set that as my default. And let's go in and do her skin colors first. Hey, Joss Singh just showed up. Joss Singh is a penciler that I met through the Page One channel with our man Jimmy Reyes. And let's see. Sorry, I'm combining layers, thinking, and chatting. Joss is an amazing penciler, and he's currently got a piece that Jimmy's inking, a pinup for Dragon Rage, that uh, is absolutely stunning. It's extremely well lit, extremely well rendered. I don't want to compare it to David Finch because I like people to feel like they're their own artist. But if you like David Finch work, you will like what Joss does. All right, this is the freehand select tool. You can lift up on it and then continue. So sometimes I draw a line and sometimes I tap through a shape. Close it out and just keep moving to the next section. Oh, see that one? That happens sometimes if you, that was a mistake. So I selected my second um, point too close and it closed it out. So I want to zoom in a little more on that. And my techniques are not necessarily the best, but they work for me. I really need to start using masks more. I learned everything without masks, figuring it out on my own. and now that I've learned a little about them, I need to start incorporating them. But it's one of those things like, even though I know it'll save time, it's like I'm not used to it. I just want to do it the way I know right now. But as I go into coloring more pages for Hammerella, I'm going to need to every minute's going to count. I'm not going to rush anything on the project. I'm letting everything take as long as it needs to take in a sense. Um, I do have deadlines for the pages, but since I don't have to turn them in page by page, if one panel is taking longer, I can to figure out, or if I'm having trouble with it, I can move on to the next because there isn't another artist waiting for me to get pages done. I'm doing everything on the project, but that's why I need to make the best out of all the time I have. So I'm gonna dive into using masks this week. Um, it's not difficult. It's just one of the things I'm not used to it, and I move quick in the ways that I'm used to. So let's see. Did I get all exposed flesh? I think so. You can just hit fill layer. I just kind of have fun dragging it and letting it fill like that sometimes. But there is an option if you go to the layer that once it's selected, you can hit fill layer there. All right, let me see what people are saying. Passion for drawing. Here we go. First Lollapalooza was Jane's Addiction. That's right. Susie and the Banshees was still rocking and rolling. Living Color was still going strong. Nine Inch Nails was peaking. Ice T and Body Count. Butthole Surfers were awesome. Rollins Band, Violent Femmes, and Fishbone. All great bands. That's a great lineup. Um, I've always been more about like obscure local like punk or rock and roll bands, but those are all radio bands that are great. Uh, I like all those bands. Yeah, that's a good lineup. My Fishbone story is we had a local show here in Orange County, California. Uh, oh man, I'm forgetting the name of the venue here, but it was this big venue by Lion Country Safari, and they would do giant shows there, and that's where the first Lollapalooza uh, tour came through. And around the same time, they had this thing called Independence Day. They would do once a year, and all the indie bands would play. And Stone Temple Pilots played there once before they blew up. My wife's got their cassette from that show. They're like homemade cassette that they or their like self done cassette. And Fishbone was one of the big bands playing there, even though they were on a label. They had a few bigger bands to kind of draw some other people, but there was a bunch of side stages, and um, Angelo Moore, the saxophone player and like one of the vocalists for Fishbone, he was in the pit for this band called Pocketland. They were like like a cool ska, not a dorky ska. They were like a cool ska jazz kind of punk band. They were kind of funky too, and we were in the pit together, and we went separate directions, and Angelo Moore came in and just cracked his forehead right on my nose, and my nose just flattened, and yeah, the front of my shirt just got splattered with blood, and I was lightheaded for a second. He helped me out of the pit. We laughed about it, and then we started up again because I was having a good time, and it was cool. I was like, dude, Angelo Moore broke my nose. That's awesome. Let's see. Ty Ranger talking art here. I usually have a layer as my palette, but that's in Photoshop where you have basically unlimited layers. Yeah, depending on what size you work on, inches wise and resolution wise, you can do a lot of layers in Procreate, but not like in Photoshop at all. Christian Nomad says, I lived 30 minutes from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they had so many random concerts back then. I saw Kiss do the acoustic set opening for Aerosmith for a crowd of 1,500. Those concerts were great. Yeah, those of you that don't know, 1,500 people sounds like a lot, but to see bands like this with that few people is I'd consider that an intimate show almost. Um, yeah, that's and especially doing an acoustic set. That's super cool. Blast Beat for Drawing says, "Ah!" I won't scream it as loud as I know he is. Says, "That was the Clash of the Titans tour. I was too young to go. Those are my favorite bands." Ah, you're just a kid. You're just a kid, Blast Beat. And Drawing for Aces replying to Passion, "I wish I could." All right, let's do some of this yellow. You guys are talking at each other too. So let's get to her armor. I got everything. Basically, these are all the colors. These are her armor, her skin tones. These are the colors that work in the palette, and some neutral tones. This is her hammer over here. And these are some of the highlight shapes that I use for highlight and shadow colors that I use. Those are not shapes. Those are colors, dummy. Okay, so these two outer colors are the ones I use primarily for her armor. So we're gonna zoom in here. I think I got this set up now where I can see around the camera properly, so I can work at the speed I want to work. All right, drop that in. And you know what? I'm gonna do it bit by bit so we can see the transformations as they go. There we go. We'll do all the armor bits on her arm first. So apparently people like her costume and they like drawing her. We have got so much amazing fan art. I wish I could call it something different. Sometimes I call it friend art. Sometimes I don't know the person, but I don't want to call them just a fan. Everyone's done like Passion for Drawings piece. It's I don't know. It's like respect son drawings or something. It's like damn, I got mad respect. You taking the time to draw my figure, um, and not my figure, but my character. Didn't mean to say figure. That's because I am in talks with my toy designer who helped me design the first Gods and Gears figures. Um, I would like to do something with Hammerella as well. We're in talks if we're going to design it physically, as in sculpt it out, or design it in, say, like Blender or something in 3D, or in a 3D form and 3D print it out, and then do molds from that. But either way, I think next year we're going to have some Gods and Gears figures. Actually, here's something I can show you guys. Here's a Divinity figure I'm working on. This was a Star Wars figure that a friend made a mold of. It's an in-action figure at the moment. All the black is the sculpt that I'm adding. Added this, so that'll all be eventually be painted differently. But if you've read Divinity from Valiant, this is a 3 3/4 figure um, that I am making of him. So some of this will be red, most of it will be white. Go in and paint his face, his skin tone. But the black is the epoxy sculpt that I use to create the pieces. So that's something I got going on the side. And here's a Gods and Gears, one of the Gods and Gears figure. The same thing going on. His head and neck is still being worked on, so that's why it looks a little funky. And again, all the black will not be black. That will all be painted and colored. This is Ozzy from the very first story. He's in the main series too, but just for a little bit. The very first story that was in it came out on a Wednesday. He's the star of that story. Respect sketches. Yeah, there we go. I got some respect sketches from people. But like they respect the character. I respect them for drawing the character. One of my favorite venues could only hold 2,000 people. Yeah, and you can get some really great sound in small places if it's got a good ceiling or even an open ceiling. You'd be pretty surprised. I've played at some great places with punk bands and stuff that had amazing sound. You can call mine anything. Can't be worse than one a-hole that called all fan art fart drawings. And I hate to break it to you, but those may not sell if they look like that. What did I miss? Or are you talking about my draw something on her? Hmm. And the Christian Nomad says the craziest thing about Cleveland is that they have so many venues that huge bands will have a show with 15,000 seats at Blossom, and the night before do a show at Agora with a 750 in attendance. Damn, now that's a intimate show. My idea of a small place is the Chain Reaction in Anaheim. I was shocked when I got there. It only holds 400 maybe. Yeah, they just closed down too. It's kind of a bummer. Um, Linda's Doll Hut is still going strong. Uh, Mac, the new owner, has found a way to do like outside shows and keep people showing up. I haven't been yet, but I don't know if they're still selling alcohol or what's going on. Um, but yeah, he's got some kind of loophole where they were still putting on shows. And the Doll Hut is kind of a not kind of it's a dive bar, but it's super historical. It was one of the main places people would stop when they were touring between San Diego and LA. It's been there since the 50s, I believe. Used to be a lot of jazz and blues bands, and the last 20 years has kind of been a punk and metal haven. Passion for drawing. How big is your tablet? This is the 9.5 inch iPad Pro. So you can see this is my pencil on is literally it's on the screen, so you can see it's only that big. So I don't whip it out and wag it around at people because it's not that big. Oh, I missed some skin. Let's get in there and do that. Yeah, I would love to have a bigger tablet to draw on. When I was at Valiant, I was doing double page spreads on this thing, and that you'd have to zoom way out to see the double page spread almost like that, and then like go in to work on it and like, does that work okay? Um, so yeah, I would love to work on something bigger. So hopefully next year I can get it together to um, get something large to work on. All right, there's the yellows of her cape. Let's get this little rope piece. Yeah, I was just saying earlier before I started what to call fan art or respect art is people seem to like drawing her costume, and that's one of the things when I design something isn't that oh I want other people to have fun drawing it. It's I need to have fun drawing it. Early on, when I was younger, I would design just what I thought was cool, and then I wouldn't really have fun drawing it. And most I'm not a super detailed artist. I like things kind of neat and clean. I rely on design um, a lot. Things are very graphic, have a very graphic design element to them, and I kind of rely on that over being a great illustrator. So right now I am dropping white in, so you won't actually see the color filling up. But yeah, I have to have fun with the costume, and I usually design costumes uh, that I think look functional and have just shapes that I like drawing. Like this is all loosely off the the anatomy. I mean it's super simple, but um, like take her knee pad for instance. It's these simple curves and straight lines. It's just these simple shapes that I like. The shape that that creates and those lines. It's like to me those are fun to draw. Um, like this here, this shape. Like I like shapes so much um, that I want to have fun when I'm drawing my characters. So if you have fun doing tons of detail, then have at it. Um, but make sure it's something you wanna draw over and over again too. That's where I used to get so mad working on characters that Jim Lee designed, because he's such a good artist, but his costumes always had so much going on. Um, I was always like, "Oh," and then when they came out, the New 52 costumes had all the, like, I don't know, grooves running through all the costumes. It was too much, and it's like they don't pay you more for they make the costume more, uh, difficult, they don't pay you more to do a more difficult costume. So I take it easy on myself. All right, I'm hopping over to one of my tools that I've manipulated. It's my awesome color brush 2. It's similar to my inking brush. It's a little softer, and I don't keep it locked to the side. My inking tools I keep locked at one size. This one I kind of play around with it. So you guys are talking about military bases. Any place with a military base is a crazy place. Louisville is no exception. Um, yeah, it's always funny. People think because I grew up in the heart of Orange County, Southern California, the suburbs, um, they're like, "Oh, that must have been like nice and quiet." No, the El Toro Marine Base was right there, and I learned quite a bit. I started working at the comic shop when I was 12, going on 13 after school, and this was a comic shop in a marine town, and boy did I learn a lot of uh, dirty jokes and stuff from marines, and a lot of funny stuff. Had like, they were the greatest customers. But all my friends dads were marines, like the whole town is basically a marine town. um but yeah, so it had a wild side. The bars were wild. There was sort of a strip club, but we weren't really allowed to have a strip club, so it was like a lingerie bar, and basically when the base started shutting down, the lingerie that's lingerie bar almost went out of business. Let's see. Right, I don't know why I accidentally put her hammer on another layer, so I need to select the color layer that her armor's on, then jump up to the layer that her hammer's on. I'm gonna hit clear. It's gonna clear the piece that went across, and then I'm gonna merge it down so that those flats are on one layer. We'll go in, select, let's see, freehand select, boopity boo, boopity boo, boop boop, boopity boo, and this will be the hammer there. And now I realized I've got the grays switched. I need a dark gray for the handle. And there we go. Yeah, I am going to print this piece up as a large. I'm going to print it up 11 by 17 and ink it. Probably make a video of it, but I kind of want to figure out what I'm doing with the colors on it. You'd think by now I would know everything I'm doing on the Hammerella colors, but I like to have a plan and then shoot from the hip a little. And I'm still playing around with my techniques. I want to get the techniques nailed as I step into December. December is going to be heavy production month. I got the whole book laid out. I got a bunch of pages penciled, got a bunch already inked. But since I'm doing everything, I'm going to be going deep into production. And I want to get all my technique ducks in a row. Ferris Jabbar, you're not lying. This is late, late. Yes, Blast Beat Ass. Isn't El Toro an aviation unit? Yeah, my friend's dad used to fly the F-15s there. He was one of the he was the what's above what's above commander in the Marines. Anyways, he was at the top of his unit, and yeah, we literally like we'd be out skateboarding, and you're like, oh, there's Scott's dad and his his squad flying around doing test runs and stuff like that. Or basically any of my friends' dads, they were pilots, and it was always crazy. Like 3 in the morning, you'd have like a Hercules just on a reroute landing, depending on how the wind was, and it would just fly right over our house and like shake the shingles off. I always thought that was super cool though. And my funny story about El Toro Marine Base is back when I was in a band called Swank Betty, we were kind of like a punk Oingo Boingo kind of band in the late 90s. And for our bass player was a mechanic. Yeah, Colonel. That's it. A bass player was a mechanic on the jets, and he they had started decommissioning the base probably 7 to 10 years before they announced they were closing it. So they were closing up giant warehouses, and he was like, "Dude, I got the keys to this giant warehouse. They aren't going to do anything with this for 5 years." So we moved all our band equipment into this giant warehouse. Um, it was, let's see, so there was this giant warehouse like this, and we came in. You came in here, and there was a room here, stairs that led up to a loft here, and this was all open here, and it had a couple, like there was a mini like crane thing here and a couple other like machines that were out of commission and just in there until like they were probably going to be part of the demolition eventually. So we set up all our band equipment in this room, and we set up a TV, coffee table, and a couch in this room as our chill room. Uh, and there was a place where the guys used to there was a corner the guys designated for peeing that I thought was gross, but it had a drainage thing that went outside. And that was gross. I didn't like that. But we would skate around here. We'd skate down the staircase. Um, the loft was small and crappy, so we never really went up there. We just kind of hung out on the stairs. We smoked weed there. We would bring parties there. We'd bring girls there. And then one day we got a call from our friend, and he said, "I just got a call saying we need to go get all of our equipment before it ends up in the trash." And we came out, and everything was boarded up, sealed up, and all of our equipment was just piled up outside. And the MPs were like, "What the fuck were you guys thinking? Like, seriously, you guys took over a warehouse on a military base so your band had a clubhouse to hang out at?" It's like, what's wrong with that, man? We had so many good times there. It was incredible, and we always just you were allowed to visit people on the base, so it would just always be legit at the gate. Hey, we're just going in to visit some friends, or you're going with your friends that are Marines. You're going in. Hey, these are my guests. This and that. Um, so that was fun, and we had like spray painted on the walls on the inside and everything, and they didn't give a crap about any of that. They were just like, "Just get your stuff out of here, you dummies." Um, but that's Marines. I freaking love Marines. Uh, let's see, did I miss anything in the chat? I did miss Merc saying goodbye. Demon Ink Studios. Good night, buddy. I'll probably be checking out for the night. Happy streaming, Ryan and company. And Ferris Jabbar, love the straw hatching in this piece. Thanks. It's a little softer than like the Top Cow style. Um, I'm gonna do it a little differently when I print it up and ink it. This is all done digitally at a slightly smaller size. But thank you. Yeah, it's inspired by the technique is not inspired by Art Adams, but the idea of the clouds and the way they are grayed out. But it's different hatching method. Like Art would probably do something like if he had a puff here, he does these little lines like this, which I like, and I started doing, and it just looked like I was trying to rip off Art Adams, and I didn't. I was like, nope. You know what? Let me do something that looks a little more me, that creates the same effect, and hopefully it works out. So I'm gonna go in and do her hair, just her dreads here. And my technique is to do the flats, then I'll do a layer or 2 layers above that where I add a gradient shadow that's like a mask gradient to the form. It's not like shadows on the underarm or anything. It'll be like if this is dark to, if it's brighter up here, I just kind of do a dark to light and a light to dark, like a highlight and a shadow. And I'll usually adjust the opacity on that. And then I'll do a layer above that where I will either just use my pen to paint or do selections and airbrush to sort of do some grads and things like that. Ferris has a question. Ferris always has great questions. Ryan, do most of the artists and creators you work with stress form over quality of line, even though clean line work is desired? Let's see. Do most of the artists and creators you work with stress form over quality of line? Um, well, I mean, nowadays I don't work with. I just work with myself nowadays mostly, but so I don't worry about that. But yeah, it was different from artist to artist. I know you always got great questions. I don't always have a great answer for you, buddy. Um, but like certain people, I'm not going to name names, but certain people would just be like, "Oh, can you go crazy with hatching?" And I've told stories like this before, where they'd be like, "Oh, like do all kinds of crazy cross hatching right here, or in these weird spots, and then like on this leg or this back of this character." And they make requests like that, and it would just be something like I don't know why they thought it looked cool if they were looking at I usually figured it was they're looking at another artist that they like that did something like that, and they're trying to have it incorporated into their piece, but they don't know how. But then there's artists like say like the David Finches or the Mark Silvestris where their stuff may look tight, but let's say you have a Mark arm like this. Here's a thumbs up, dude, and a weird hand. Okay, so here's the elbow. That's the forearm, and you got these muscles. Um, they might like loosely do lines like that, but then they kind of want you when you ink to like kind of go to the form. I don't know if I'm answering your question right. I don't feel like I am. I feel like I misunderstood something. Um, I don't know, maybe is it do they care more about the effect of the lines over the individual line? Because I've had people like that where they don't care how clean the individual lines are, they care about how the effect is. And that's you're looking at somebody like a Sean Murphy or a Kevin Nolan, which is not to insult their line. Their lines look great, but they're not about a meticulous line. I don't know. I don't think like I think I messed up your question. Oh, asking for okay, because most pencilers' line work is rough. Um, yeah, most people I worked with, they towards the end, anyways, or like maybe the last 7 of the like almost 20 years I was doing it. Those guys at that level, like working it with like Top Cow and DC and stuff, um, they did want clean lines. Most of the guys I worked with, like Marcus Toe was someone that he really liked a clean line, and his work called for a clean line. He wasn't like demanding about it or anything, but there was a certain quality, like technique that his work desired. Oh, and I'm just like full on Hammerella crotch here. Sorry, guys. Hey, we got Justin H showing up. Hey, what's up, man? Um, but I gotta say I didn't deal with that many people that I don't know. People would be surprised how often I didn't get feedback or notes from artists. It was usually like just a hey, it's looking really good and moving on or nothing at all. Um, Early on when I was young, people were much more demanding because they didn't know who I was. They felt like I was being forced on them by editors, and so they would call me. I got a lot of phone calls when I was younger, so it was like, all right, let's talk about this and that. And some people would be like, don't change this, but feel free to fix that. And some people would be like, please fix this if you know how to do that. Um, but yeah, if a penciler's work is loose and you're inking it, if he's somebody that you're working with If it's too loose, communicate with them, because I like faces and hands to be tight in the pencils. I don't wanna have to interpret that, over an artist. I want them to get their work in there, and I basically just trace it on that. Blast Beat, did you get to work or meet Michael Turner, or had he split before you got to Top Cow? I never met him. I'm one of the very few people I'm his work just doesn't do it for me. He's very, very good, but his style doesn't do anything for me. So I didn't really follow him or care to. And then none of the people I knew working with him had great relations with him, none of the inkers, so I just never met him. I did study a lot of his background work from Fathom because Joe Weems had all of the tons of those originals that he inked at the studio when I was there, when we were working together. Yeah, he's incredible. It's just I guess his style never really worked for me. Um, but yeah, I learned a lot from his Fathom backgrounds. They were so extremely detailed, but somehow still felt like they fell into the background. Had this great way of doing that. But yeah, never met him. Let's see. Hey, Sequential Geek showed up. What's up, buddy? He said, that looks interesting, man. Hey, thank you so much, buddy. Hey, we got Jimmy. I'm so sorry. I'm used to Jimmy Ray as I see the pink, and then I saw Palmiotti, and but no, my homie Peter Palmiotti is in the house. Comic art styles are a wide range. There are pencilers who are tight, and those that are loose. I like somewhere in between. It allows for more of me to pour into the inks. Um, sorry, I should have posted that there for you, Peter. And Peter is not retro. Retro is a book that Peter is working on, and you can catch him working on it over on Peter Palmiotti's YouTube channel. Again, if I had the ability to drop links right now, I would. Yeah, I prefer, like I said, faces and hands tight. I don't like rendering to be super tight. If it is, I still sort of do my rhythm or flow over it. Um, because you don't want to. I always joke that we are tracers, because essentially we do trace, but you don't want to like have to like perfectly trace a line, especially if it's penciled that tight. It's like it's almost pointless to ink, um, but you still have to so that the work scans and looks complete and looks consistent. I don't know. It can be a mess, but yeah, I prefer tight pencils on the faces and hands, and then rendering and stuff like that mildly loose, so that I can sort of do some interpretation and um, not necessarily even put my style into it, but just not be restricted. Like, all of us have a certain way that our hand moves, and that creates our style. So you don't want to be uncomfortable. Ferris Jabbar says David Finch's work looks really different with Scott Williams over it. Scott's inks really have a unique and specific dramatic look and feel to them. Yeah, he uses a different tool too. So he uses an 8408. A lot of inkers that use a Raphael use the 8404. Scott's has an extra little like fine long hair on the tip, and it creates a specific chisel type that he gets. And then he also has a way of creating gradations, grads for short. Like when he does, this isn't how I would shade it here, but he'll do, these lines like really, really thin lines that slowly start getting closer together and slowly start getting thicker and thicker. Um, and Scott is a real master at that. Uh, Tons of control over his tool, over the brush. And yeah, I wouldn't say he softened up Finch when he inked him, because people get a people. I don't know. I think soft means bad. But it wasn't as angular. Finch really scratches into the board and he makes angular shapes, and Scott kind of had let his brush kind of be a little softer around it, and I thought it made for a really interesting effect. It almost looks a little more Frazetta-ish when he's inked by someone like Scott Williams. Sequential says he just wanted to swing by. Know what I'm saying? Lol, peace. All right, take care of yourself. You may already be gone. Have yourself a good night. So Christian Nomad. So Ryan, you're saying Liefeld would not be your favorite guy to ink? Ha. No, probably not. I wanted to at one point because I had worked with so many of the image creators. It was a goal to work with them all, and I don't know, probably about 7, 8 years ago, I gave that up. Not because I dislike any of them. I was just like, I don't know. I got my own goals. I got it. That's not gonna get me anywhere. Let's see. Blast Beat. Let's see. Turner and McFarlane are my shit. Most of the creators are still with us. It's a bummer that he passed away so young. Yes, it definitely is. Um, yeah, no offense. That's why I don't have anything bad to say about his art. It's just one of those things. It just never spoke to me. Um, but like I said, I completely recognize his talent. And still learned so much from him. Hey, Michael Bancroft, I'm here too. Michael Bancroft, a writer creator of The Lucent. He also has a fantastic late night CG show that he does over on his channel. It is so much fun. Uh, I'd say it's neck and neck with Red Valkyrie for one of the funnest times I've ever had on a live stream. It was raucousy and wild, and yeah, I had a blast. Can't wait to hang out again. They're always cool. Albino Thunderbuns hangs out and sort of mods or co-hosts, and yeah, all kinds of good stuff over there. Thanks for stopping by, Michael. Sequential Geek. Before I go, Win, have you ever seen this vid? Shaka Khan like sugar. I probably have. I've seen a lot of Shaka Khan stuff. It's dope. If I had the ability from my mobile right now, I'm not at my computer doing this. So I'm just on my mobile. I would play it without volume for you. Ferris Jabbar says, Ryan, can you discuss how McFarlane approaches blue line layouts and overall approach to drawing anatomy? His dot dash method and overall style is really hard to decipher when trying to break down. Wow, you've asked me that a couple times, and it's always something I would need to prepare for a video like that. Um, and the dash dot method, if I'm thinking correctly for you, you mentioned once in the background. So, or were you how he uses them? Were you talking about uh, when he does these things? Are you talking about the dashes and dots, or dits, as we also call them, in the background? Are you talking about this kind of thing? Let's see. Ferris Bar says, to me, the 90s style still feels more dynamic and exciting. Yeah, there's a lot in the 90s. They were about pushing things. So, if in the 80s the leg coming forward was like this, and in the 90s the leg coming forward was like this, coming at you. The camera was put in closer to the figures. They were experimenting more with just forms coming at you, kind of pushing some old Kirby ideas with the added intensity of the cross hatching and the style that they were implementing at the time. Let's see what fair that Dosh in general for overall detail. So you're just talking about how he would uh, just break up forms like this and do his. I mean, this is an ugly version. um yeah, okay, so that's one of those things I need to prepare for a video like that and break out some of the xeroxes and do some examples. Because I mean, I never worked with McFarlane directly. It like, we would meet for signings and stuff like that. But yeah, I never like I didn't work at a studio with him or anything. Where with Silvestri, I was actually in studio because he was here in California, or Todd was in Arizona. Uh, Skits, what's his name? Michael from the Skits comic. I don't know if you guys know that he used to actually work at McFarlane's studio, and so did my buddy Jay Gonzo. Um, So maybe that's something I should actually talk to Skits about, and we can talk because when I was on his channel, behind the scenes, we were talking a lot about that stuff. So you know what, Ferris? Maybe I will talk to not maybe I will talk to Michael and see if he has tips and techniques that he learned while he was there, because I know he had the story where he finally asked Todd if he would look at his portfolio, and Todd helped him out with stuff. I'd also like to get Danny Mickey on sometime. He doesn't really do live streams, and he doesn't like that kind of stuff. But maybe I can like pre-record something or get him to talk about examples. But here, it is fun to do. At the We always called these dits. Danny Mickey would do cool spirally ones like let's see. I'll talk while I work. Um, so yeah, I that's something I'll talk to Michael and see if he's got some kind of advice directly from Todd. Um, but yeah, all my stuff was it was always more the inking techniques from dealing with anybody. There are very few people I got to learn any penciling techniques from. So many times when I wanted to learn penciling techniques, it was kind of like, bro, you're an inker. There was a lot of that back in the day. A lot of like, know your place, buddy. Um, Man, I haven't done this kind of stuff in a long time. When I first came into Danny's studio, one of my first gigs was as a background inker over Trent Kanuga on Ghost Rider, and we would do these sort of spirally uh, dip backgrounds with the cross hatching. Danny liked that Tim Berlin swirliness to stuff. Um, so we got really good at doing this stuff. When I started working with Danny, I was working at an art store, and we had post-it notes that we took notes on throughout the day, like for customers and stuff like that. And I would just sit there with the post-it note and just practice these things, because that was my job in the background, was to get good at these things. But Danny was so good at it. He would do these like amazing spiral patterns in the backgrounds that just they came out gorgeous. Um, so yeah, see, that's one of those things. First, I'm gonna have to actually like I don't know, once a month have some sort of tutorial video like that where I spend some extra time like in the research, a little bit in the development and the editing. Um, probably could make them for like 20 minutes where we tackle one thing at a time like that. Um, this is also when I say go watch Richard Friend's channel. Richard knows more than me. Go bug him. No, he he knows more. And he's a guy. He's probably better, way better. Not probably. He's way better penciler than I am too. Um, so Ty Ranger says, "Bro, you're just here to trace my stuff. Why would I teach you to be competition?" uh, Ferris Shabar says, "Todd, to my knowledge, has never really released any how-to approach drawing as far as to approach figure breakdown. He's such on rendering, but not how his style came about." Um, and Blast has watched all of his videos online, or he's talking to Blast. He has watched all of Todd's videos. Um, and you guys are talking about other band stuff. Um, so, anyways, yeah, with those questions, I'm sorry, Ferris. I don't have a quick answer for any of that. Why don't we ink this for the last few minutes, and then I need to go check on a family that's dealing with the fire. Um, I want to see how they're doing. We gotta those that you missed out earlier. My family, my in-laws and my brother-in-law are in a place where there's a forest fire right now. They live up in a mining town, not too far from where I am, and uh, I'm waiting to hear if they need to evacuate and come stay here. So I kind of want to reach out. They said they'd reach out to me, but I think in a few minutes I am gonna go. So if you guys any simple questions, I don't have the means. I'm so sorry, Ferris. I know you're trying to learn, and there's nothing I would hate more than telling a student or somebody who's trying to learn that I don't have an answer for you right now. He says, "Oh, thank you, Ferris." He says, "It's no problem, Ryan. I was just curious if you've ever had any conversations with Todd. Hope your family is okay. Much more important." Oh no, thanks. Thank you so much. They will be fine. I'm not too worried. Their evacuation right now is mostly just precautionary. We had one here a few weeks ago. We had the big fires here too. We almost got evacuated. Um, but yeah, my the few times I did meet Todd, he was great. I have, like I've mentioned before, I have major problems with my experience working with Spawn, so that's why I don't know uh, talk about it that much. I guess I got screwed out of my originals. I had all kinds of problems like dealing with it. So I don't know. A lot of times I just kind of just don't think about that stuff. So I kind of block out a lot of I guess I block out a lot of the good stuff that way too. The good memories. And maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, it seems like it was so long ago. I guess it was. It was like 17 years ago or something. Almost 20 years ago. Yeah, almost 20 years ago that I started. Issue 104 was my first issue over Angel Medina, and we were on it to like issue like 160 something, or I don't know. It was almost more than 5 years we were on it. So thank you all for hanging out. Jeez, there's still I didn't even notice how many people it was. We got 12 people watching. Uh, Again, Ferris, you said it's okay, but I am still going to apologize. I wish I had quicker, better answers for you. But you are looking for serious information, and I got to really think about that stuff and prepare. Especially because I'm great at teaching inking. I'm crap at teaching penciling techniques. Absolutely garbage. That's why like I don't review people's pencils normally. It's just not my strong suit, and there's so many I don't know, there's so many better teachers out there for penciling stuff. But I have been around a lot of penciling knowledge, so I want to try to pass on what I've learned. And this piece I'm working on here, this was drawn live on the Geronimo Draws channel a couple days ago, and I'm going to be digitally inking it. This is a picture of my pencil sketch or my from my sketchbook, the inked version from my sketchbook. The prompt was Cyclops, so I drew a young Hammerella coming up on a giant Cyclops skull. So I'm going to reconfigure some of the composition and stuff like that, and then probably make it some sort of a print or a trading card. Ty Ranger says, Ferris, back in the day, I watched all of EVS's drawing videos. I think they're still on a playlist on his channel. I don't know if that'll help, but it had figures and perspective from what I remember. Sequential Geek says, all the best, yo. I just got the second issue of Gods and Gears, so now I have all four. So looking forward to finishing that run. I'm liking COTS, but I would like to see your art on the pages. Well, I'm going to be doing Hammerella. I'm going to be doing the one shots each year for Gods and Gears. It's sort of the annual. That's all I can do. I can't do more than one issue a year, and I can't do the stuff that Dean can do. He's going to be. I can't wait till you guys see what he does in the second series. Though it's going to be amazing. Ashton Jackal, I didn't see this. He says, when did you first get into comics? So yeah, it was about 20 years ago. Danny Mickey came into the art store I worked at, and he was slowly building his Crime Lab Studios, and that's where I started. It was about 2 weeks before I met him. I decided I wanted to try to break in as an inker, and just coincidentally, 2 weeks later, he strolled into the shop, and my friend that usually helped him couldn't help him, and I was relatively new to the shop at the time, so, but the guy knew I knew comics, and he said, "Hey, can you help this guy out?" And, yeah, about 6 months later, I was part of the studio, and it was Danny Mickey, Alan Martinez, Victor Olazaba, and myself, and it was the 4 of us for almost 5 years, and, yeah, we were a great team, great friends, and, yeah, it was, there were some good times there. So, yeah, it's been about 20 years. Did you get into them and fall out or just continue to love comics all along? Um, I've always loved comics as a medium. I used to always say it's the industry I love with the medium I love and the industry I despise. And by industry, I usually mean the big two. I don't mean indie comics. Always had a blast making indie comics on the side. Rarely had trouble with indie creators. All the jerks were always at the big two. Or they were always indie creators that were new to the big two that were super cocky. Um, but I was lucky with Danny Mickey from the get go. It was all about uh, being amazing and being humble. It's like you got to kick ass, but you got to be extremely cool and never get cocky. Talk back to your editors, things like that. I eventually broke all those rules. I got tired of the way editors treated us, and I was like, we deserve contracts, and would get in trouble for standing up for us and stuff like that. Editors didn't like that stuff, but some editors did. Some editors appreciated it because they thought inkers, colorists, and letters deserved to be treated a little bit better and given contracts for things like that. But I've kind of fallen in and out of love of making comics. Um, there were times that yeah, I mean there were definitely times I left mainstream. Um, like when I left DC like 5 years ago, I just started turning down work, didn't want to work for them anymore, and started doing more freelance stuff, toy design. I spent a couple years at one point before that, like 10 years ago, I worked for my uncle for a medical supply company. I used to do installs for these ceiling lifts for patients that were paraplegics and quadriplegics. So we would put track through their house that would lead uh, that they could like get picked up and like dragged around their house on this track, like with these motors and stuff. So I did that for a while, all while still kind of drawing my indie stuff and being my own artist. I do a lot of painting and stuff too. So I spent time doing that. But the last 3 years, I decided it's going to be if I'm going to do comics, it's only going to be my indie comics, my creations. I may work on some stuff with friends, but um, I'm not working on anything that isn't part of something I created, and I'm going to be doing way less drawing. So like I'll just be doing one issue a year, and then Dean will be handling the main series. Let's see, we got let's see. Ferris Jabbar says, to me, McFarlane's art really hit a nerve as well as Silvestri's. His early Amazing Spider-Man work and then standalone issue 1 of Spider-Man really was a seminal moment for me. Yeah, me too. Those man, his Amazing Spider-Man issues were probably some of the most inspiring things in my life, especially at the time. I was pretty young, and I was very impressionable with that stuff. Like I started copying the big eyebrows and the fat fingers, and I was actually trying to draw Ninja Turtles for a long time in his style. Uh, and I absolutely loved his Hulk. His Hulk run is where I fell in love with them. And there's Hulk 161, I think, where the Hulk takes up. It's a gray Hulk takes up almost the whole cover, and he's pushing the logo aside. And I remember it was like $1.25, and most issues were 75, and it was on the spinner rack at this newsstand uh, near my grandparents' house. And I was up there for about a month, and I needed to save up. I kept buying other comics because they would always give me $1. They're like, "Here's $1," and I would get my 75-cent comics. So then I got my dollar each week, and then I saved that quarter back. And then by the end of the month, I had $1.25 or $1.50, whatever, to buy that one. And that was like the greatest moment ever. Like that was equivalent to like, I don't know, like a blockbuster movie nowadays or something for me. Ty Ferris says, my motto is learn what you can, where you can, and if possible, help pass it on. No one's born a perfect artist. We all need to learn. Yeah, that's a good thought. Ferris Jabbar says, I still remember my friend bringing over the gold cover of Spider-Man 1 when I was living overseas, and I had never experienced anything like that. Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, that was cool stuff. I had bought so many of those issues. Man, I swear I missed something by Peter Palmiotti. This is so hard on on my phone, the scrolling. Indy for the win. That's right, Michael Bancroft. That's right, I called you Mickle. Mickle Bancroft. Alan Davis's cinematic Batman storytelling also made a huge impression on me, especially 569. Yeah, and also his work on Mask of the Phantasm. That was incredible. Peter Palmiotti, Indy is where it's at. And Ferris Jabbar is clarifying he means Detective Comics 569. And he also clarifies, oh, yeah, Hulk. And you are absolutely on the money with McFarlane's Turtle work. Um, so, anyways, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This was an impromptu live stream. I kind of wanted to play around with various things and just hang out, and that's what we did. So thank you very much, Ferris. Thank you for the thoughtful questions, and I'm going to put those into my book so we can have a few more tutorial videos like you guys have been asking. Artsy's been looking for some of that stuff too. He wants me to do some digital inks. So I think tomorrow I'm going to try to do a daytime digital inks of this so that he can see that. He's an East Coaster and doesn't get to stay up late to watch these. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to bug Michael Bancroft about coming on the show again, and I'm going to bug him about having me on his show again. So look forward to that. Friday, I'm going to continue my creator spotlights. It's something we're going to do. I'm probably going to change the name of the show too. Everyone calls it Creator Spotlight, so I need to come up with something different. But Friday, we're going to meet this kid, Ryan Hack. I've seen his stuff around. He's got a book called Bric-a-Brac, and I wanted to bring on a smaller creator that is close to getting funded and see if we can help him out. And one of the reasons I am curious about him is I hate Christmas stuff. I don't like Christmas stories, movies, cartoons, anything like that. Yet his bric-a-brac book caught my eye. I thought the art looked amazing. He's got a small goal that he can reach, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can make this happen. So that's going to be Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific. I'll be joined by John Hervey as my guest co-host. He joined us yesterday when we interviewed Adam Lawson, and we had a lot of fun there. So join us for that, and also catch me over on Death Curse, where we hang out and get rude and crude. And Tuesdays on Geronimo Draws. And pay attention for my impromptu live streams here too. So if I missed your question, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. Like I said, I'm doing this on mobile, and the scrolling, it's I feel like I missed a few. So if I missed a question or two, hit me up, and I'll try to get back to you or mention it in the next video. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy. Don't be scared. We're good people. The winner's circle. And just up early. All right. Later, everybody.